below this hanging in front now. So it's going to tell me something else to do besides that horizontal shift. Let me ask her to read a little bit more to me. Read the next one.
Reflecting graphs.
That's it. Go
To graph y equals negative f of x.
Oh, hang on. Got you. If the negative sign's out front, what does that tell me to do?
Reflect the graph of y equals f of x in the x-axis.
Reflect through the x. Now tell me the next one.
To graph y equals f of negative x. Reflect the graph of y equals f of x in the y-axis.
Oh my goodness. Which of those two apply to what we did here? Is that negative sign, did I have a negative sign out front to begin with, like she just read to me right there? So somewhere I'm going to show the graph is being reflected across the x-axis, the parabola. I'm starting with the parent graph of a parabola. What does that tell me if I reflect the parabola across the x-axis? What's going to happen to the parabola if I flip it over the x-axis? Now you know what the parent graph looks like from yesterday. It looks like this. There's my parent graph. And that tells me now to reflect it through the x-axis. What's it going to look like? At least that part when I get to it. Is that reflection through the x-axis going to give me this? Yes or no? So my graph's going to be upside down. We're going to finish up. Now though, I also have in this particular case a negative sign inside. We changed the inside. I have another negative sign. That's more like what she just read to me. That's this. So what's that negative sign in the green there tell me to do in addition now? What else must I do? I've got to reflect the graph through what? The y-axis. Now, you've already reflected through the x-axis. It's upside down. Now you're supposed to reflect it through the y-axis. In other words, take this, where am I? This, take it over here. I like this. This, take it over here. Have we looked out on that red graph, if I actually reflect it through the y-axis at this point, am I going to actually end up with the same graph? This piece here is supposed to be taken over here. This piece here is supposed to be reflected over here. For a parabola, do you end up with the same graph? Some graphs you do not, but for a parabola we look out, you end up with the same graph. So reflection to the x-axis, reflection to the y-axis. Let me see if I have enough now. Oh my goodness, don't read anything else to us. I would have enough now to get this graph done. I do. Let's get the graph done. Guys, here goes. I'm not ready for this. Oh, I'm not ready for this. Hang on. I'm getting a little scared now. Nah. We're not scared. Let's grab it. Let's start out with the parent graph. I always ask you to put the parent graph first. Yeah, its shape will look something like this. And we'll label on the side. This represents my parent. Now start from left to right, the transformations. I think we said this tells me to reflect it through the x-axis. So let's get that out of the way, which means now, Professor, you have a graph down here. We label this represents this. Don't lose any points if you see one of these on the exam, but you've got to label as you go along. Now, next, oh my goodness, I'm inside here. There's another negative sign. We lucked out here though. This says reflected through the y-axis. Now take the red and take this piece over here, across that y-axis. For a parabola, it keeps me right where I am. Okay, so we lucked out there, so that's taken care of. Horizontally shifted how many spaces? 2 to the right. We'll show that, the red graph. Show it here. Guys, we'll try it like this. Something like that. Let's label this as y is equal to negative out front, x subtract 2 squared, was it? Negative. Hang on. Since negative, x minus 2 squared. So I took that red graph and horizontally shifted 2 to the right. That's not going to be too bad. Now that takes me out to here. Which says now do what with this red graph here? How am I going to finish it up and have the graph I'm after? It says do what? Vertically shift this graph what? Down 6. So I vertically shift it down 6. Let's see if it works. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put it there. Got to put the final graph in a different color. I'm going to drop it down 6. So here we go. This looks like it's me here, if you guys will agree. And is my graph going to look something like this? Is it going to look something like that? Drop down 6. Yes or no? At this point, I would say, well, Professor, that is it. That blue graph represents, if we have no issues here, that represents the original function you had in the black there. Just turn around a little bit. So my graph, that's the graph down there. We did 3 transformations. Yes or no? Now, can anyone name, before we take a break here, can anyone name the vertex for me? The turning point on the blue graph? Looks like it's out to what? Down 6? Yeah. Now, guys, I'm going to start using a V here for vertex. Talk more about that. That's my turning point. Like this, what else? Okay. Now, does it touch the x-axis at all? My blue graph. So there are no x-intercepts. Might there be a y-intercept? Might, the way this thing looks, it extends forever, might it come on over and eventually come over here and touch that y-axis somewhere? Still keep that shape, but come on over as it drops down and touch the y-axis. I don't think it's an x-intercept. Guys, let's try to find that y-intercept right quickly, if we can. And a quick way to find the y-intercept always, replace x with a 0. If I go back to the original, right, this y is equal to negative. Replace the x with a 0. Do my math here. Looks like it's negative 4 subtract 6. Check my math out. It's at negative 10. Yes or no? So that tells me what? This graph is going to come on over here, and eventually down here at negative 10, if that number is correct, it's going to intersect over here. If I make it work out for me, there should be an intersection point here at negative 10. So you guys can actually stretch out over there and make it. I know I'm going to make it awkward if you know what. It looks like it may do something like that. Oh boy, that looks horrible. And then on the other side, I guess, something like that, I'm running out of space there. But we think it's going to have a y-intercept at negative 10. But no x-intercept. Jeez. Transformations. Now, do the transformations get just a little bit harder to finish up section 1.5? And they do, but basically you have seen the basic ones, right? You shift it, so forth, so on. Like, so we step back, guys. Making sense so far? The presentation? Now, we got 5 minutes before the break. I don't know my students yet by name. I know a few by name already, not all. But, let's see if I'm ready. I search through here. Oh, I am ready. I sent the key out today. So you have the solutions. Okay, guys. Here goes. Arena. Melody June?